For most people, when they finally do get around to looking how to improve their health and fitness, it's usually some sort of short-term idea that comes to mind. For example, they might be looking at how to lose 20 pounds in 30 days or 10 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever it might be, but it's always something short-term. Maybe they've come to the realization that something needs to be done because they have some sort of event coming up. Maybe they have a wedding coming up, or maybe they have this vacation that they want to go on, or they know there's a beach that's calling their name that'll be here soon. So they take the first steps by going on the internet and searching out how to lose weight as quickly as possible. What is the fastest way to get the best results? How can I get that slim waist in 2 weeks? What eating approach can I use in order to lose weight quickly and efficiently? And the list goes on and on. But unfortunately, that way of thinking is seriously flawed. And with that kind of mindset, most people will find themselves back starting at the beginning over and over and over again, and they're setting themselves up for a lifetime of being overweight. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about today, as I'm going to be sharing with you the importance of playing the long game so that you can set yourself up not only to lose weight, not only to become healthier and more fit, but to stay that way for a lifetime. Let's dive in. Welcome to episode 36 of the LeRock Show, where I'm here to help you get your fitness back on track at any age and regardless of your current fitness level, so you can spend more quality time with your families, have a brighter outlook on life, and finally find the true joy that life has to offer. I'm your host, LeRock. Pumped to be here. I'm excited to be here again today to share some of these little tips and tricks with you so that you can take some of these little things that I share and help make significant change in your life. For those of you listening on Apple Podcast, thanks for listening and thanks for your reviews, because your input really does matter and makes a big difference for this channel. If you're watching on YouTube, thanks for watching, and I appreciate your comments and feedback, as it only motivates me more to produce more free content to help the community. For today's show, I plan on focusing in and sharing the importance of playing the long game, because the long game is where it's all at when it comes to maintaining a lifetime of being healthy and fit. I find it very interesting how many people, and I was included in this, will spend so much time of their lives wasting their time, scrolling endlessly on cell phones, watching televisions, playing online games, killing time just doing nothing, having no accountability for what they're doing with their time. But when it comes to their health and fitness, for some reason, it has to be as quick as possible. Those results have to happen in a matter of weeks. We don't get on the internet and go, what's the most healthy, most, proper way to lose weight? How can I lose weight effectively for a lifetime? That's rarely what gets typed in on key searches. What gets typed in is how to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks, how to lose 20 pounds in a month, or whatever it might be, how to get ready for this wedding. It's the mindset that most human beings have. When it comes to their health and fitness, everything has to be immediate. Therefore, most people inherit this short-term thinking, this short-term mindset for losing weight. And what they fail to do is take a moment and step back and think about the long game. Think about where they'd like to be in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. They just don't take the time to think about the long game. So I figured this week I'd take a moment and have that discussion, talk to you about the pitfalls of this short-term thinking, and also to share with you the advantages and the importance of thinking long-term when it comes to your health and fitness. Because that's what's key to stopping the vicious circle. Stopping the vicious circle of gaining weight and losing weight, gaining weight and losing weight, and throwing your hands up in the air because you feel like you just can't win. Now, if you haven't done so already, I encourage you to take a moment and download my free Automate Your Plate checklist. It's based on an eating approach that I created more than 15 years ago called Automate Your Plate. I used it to lose 65 pounds in 13 weeks and I've maintained a healthy body ever since. Now, Automate Your Plate is part of my short-term approach to losing weight, but it also is part of my long-term solution to a lifetime of staying healthy and fit. Automate Your Plate is also one of the 9 directives that I talk about in my book and that I teach in my online course. The benefits of this eating approach is that it allows you much freedom, allows you to make many choices of what goes on your plate. It doesn't require that you starve yourself, and it allows you to remain fueled for your workouts. Those that have tried Automate Your Plate and followed it correctly have had amazing results. Like most people, I have an extremely busy schedule. Yet while following Automate Your Plate, as well as the other 8 directives in my book, I've been able to not only lose all that weight, but keep it off with very little effort at all. So yes, I put together a free step-by-step checklist. I call it the Automate Your Plate checklist. It's a paint-by-numbers approach that takes you through all the steps of Automate Your Plate, making it very simple to understand and follow. Be sure to grab yourself a copy. You can do that by going to ethanlerock.com/automate. And if you're watching on YouTube, there is a link down below. You can click on it and you can get it there. Okay, so you may be soon searching on the internet for the quickest way to lose weight. You may be in a rush to get back into shape for some sort of upcoming event. Well, before you jump in with full vigor, I want to share with you some pitfalls to this short-term thinking. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you some of the positive advantages of thinking long-term and playing the long game. Now, there isn't anything wrong with wanting to lose some weight and wanting to lose it quickly. There isn't anything wrong with that. However, if that is the only thing that you're taking time to think about when it comes to your health and fitness, the immediate results, then you're leaving a lot on the table, and you're very likely to find yourself back right where you are today, searching out the next workout, the next diet, that next thing that you need to do to lose weight. And unfortunately, you might even find yourself in worse shape than you are right now. Now, what I'm about to share with you might seem very obvious after I explain it to you, but I challenge you to ask yourself the question, am I doing this? Am I guilty of this short-term thinking? Because I find that it's amazing how most people put very little thought into how they want to go about losing weight and what the long-term results might be. Their sole focus is usually on how can I get the quickest results possible? How can I get ready for that wedding? Or how can I get ready for that beach? Or how can I get myself looking really good, for this upcoming event? With very little thought on what they're going to do after that. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of all that stuff if you're only going to find yourself right back where you started? It pays to stop and ask yourself, what would a lifetime of being healthy and fit feel like? What would that do for me? What would it be like to be able to not worry about that next time I'm going to be on the beach, or not worry about being in shape for that wedding, because I'm always in shape. I always feel good. I always feel like I look my best. What would that be like? And would it be worth it to you to think about more of a long-term solution when it comes to losing weight? Doesn't that sound like something that is much more worth it? So let's talk about some of the pitfalls of this short-term thinking. I'll start there, and then we'll go into some of the positive aspects of long-term thinking, so that you'll have a little bit of a better understanding of what I'm getting at. So short-term thinking, the very first thing we're going to talk about is this idea that we have to lose some weight, okay, for whatever reason it might be. But it has to be done quickly. It has to be done almost immediately because we have this event coming up. And usually it is something important. It's a vanity-driven thing, usually. And it's, either we have to get to a wedding, or we have to go on a vacation, or we're going for this job interview, or we're going to go on this date with someone we haven't met before. And the list goes on and on and on. And usually it is because we want to look our best. For some reason we've allowed ourselves, through the natural process of not doing much, not moving and not eating properly, we've allowed ourselves to get out of shape. And we see this really important thing that we want to get in shape for. So what we do is we look for the best, most efficient exercise program on the internet, or, through an ad or through some sort of infomercial, whatever it might be. Or we join some sort of program in our local gym, or, some sort of boot camp or some sort of CrossFit or whatever it might be to get ourselves in shape. And there are pitfalls that come with that. And I'll start with the exercise. When you have this short-term thinking in your mind, and you're just thinking, I want to get ready for this thing, it can be very motivating. That is one positive thing to it. But one of the pitfalls to it is that it usually involves putting yourself through some severe trauma, okay? Because you've given yourself a short-term deadline that you need to meet at all costs. And you put yourself through, usually that means you're putting yourself through some workouts that are pretty ridiculous, pretty hard on the body, hard on the joints, hard on the tendons, hard on the nervous system. And that's why many times people that take this approach, either they don't make it to their goal and they quit, or they make it to their goal and quit soon after they reach their goal, just to find themselves right back to where they started before. Because it's not a natural process. This short-term thinking, this short-term solution that's being sold to everyone out there, it's not reasonable. It's something that you may be able to achieve, but it's not something that's reasonably maintained. And that's the problem. I remember myself many times diving back into my health and fitness when I'd hit a spot where I knew that I had something coming up. And lucky thing with me is I had all the knowledge and experience of how to train properly, how to eat properly, and all that good stuff. So I could just do it without even thinking. But even for me, what would happen is I would put myself through this ballistic training. I would put myself through crazy, crazy strict eating. And in the end, I'd be miserable about it. I wouldn't have a whole lot of joy in it. And I would always think of it always had an escape clause at the end, because once I reached this destination of this summertime, the beach, or this wedding that I had to go to, or this, work event that I had to go to, or this job interview that I had to go to, or this date that I wanted to go on, in the end, when I hit my target, then it was like, okay, I've done it. I've achieved it. Now what? And while I was going through the process, through these intense workouts, through this strict dieting, it takes a mental toll on a person. I remember many times just feeling totally like everything was just blah, because that was everything I was doing. It was my whole life at that moment. All for what? For the sake of losing a few pounds so I could look better for this event, or be in shape for this event, or impress somebody. But it was never based on a long-term thought of what would my life be like in 10 years from now? What's the whole purpose of this? Why do I want to even be doing this thing? That never came to my mind. And the sad part about it is when you are done and you have either quit, or you've accomplished your goal and then quit soon after that, there's a depression that sets in that many people out there don't talk about, when all the weight starts to creep back on slowly. It's not overnight, but slowly, all that weight starts to creep back on. When you stop eating correctly, and when you stop doing something physical on a regular basis, nature takes over, and the weight comes back on. And usually with that comes the blood pressure goes up, the anxiety goes up, you start feeling depressed, and it wears you out mentally. I'm telling you from experience, I've been on that roller coaster ride way too many times. And like I said, the other major pitfall to short-term thinking is it has an escape clause built in. It's that 30 days. It's that 2 weeks. It's that in 60 days. All of it has this short-term thinking built in. So people in their minds, and I was included in this, think to themselves, okay, I could do that. I could do that for 30 days. I'll put myself through that for 30 days. I'll put myself through that crazy workout. I'll be throwing up in the gym. I will do everything I can. I will stay on that strict diet. I will count every calorie. I will weigh every morsel. I will do this like a champ. And I know after that 60 days, I don't have to do it anymore. So they see that as the end result, the finish line. right? It has an escape clause built right into it. And that's one of the number one problems with short-term thinking. So what is long-term thinking? What is playing the long game all about? Well, it's about being more methodical, a bit more logical in your thinking. It's about reality. It's about setting yourself up for a lifetime of being healthy and fit. It's about doing physical exercise of some sort, but in a reasonable way. A reasonable way that's safe for your joints, safe for your tendons, safe for your muscles, allows you to recover, is something you can do for the long haul. There is no end in sight. It's something, so if you are choosing something in your life to do physically, and there's no end to it, you're going to do this for the rest of your life, then you better be picking something that you enjoy, that you want to do, that you can do for the long term. That's the difference. These short-term solutions that are being sold to you out there, and there's millions of them, they are just that. They're short-term solutions. How many people do you know right now that have done some of these popular, online courses, or, these disc sets, DVDs they used to sell, or these online memberships, where they went through a path and they started getting in really good shape, and then all of a sudden you see them today, years later, and they're not doing it anymore? Well, there's a reason for that. It's because these are short-term solutions. They're based on short-term thinking. Nobody's teaching out there the long-term solutions, the way to stay in the long game and the advantages of that. And the amazing thing about the long game is that you can make it whatever you want it to be. It starts out with, like I said, methodical thinking. You need to be thinking to yourself, where do I want to be in 10 years? What does health and fitness mean to me? Why is health and fitness important to me? Why is it so important that I get myself back in shape and that I stay that way? Rather than, why is it so important that I get ready for this thing in 2 weeks or in a month from now? And put yourself through all that. Long-term thinking is really where it's at if you want a lifetime of being healthy and fit. Now, as human beings, we all want immediate gratification. So even long-term thinking has some immediate gratification in it. Because instead of killing yourself in the gym through some sort of ballistic, crazy physical thing, and doing the nutritional thing where you're just super strict and you never allow yourself time to stray, and you're weighing everything, you're counting all your calories, there's still some short-term, quick results you can get when you're thinking long-term. It all depends on how you set it up. Like playing the long game, it's all up to you. That's the cool part about it. It's all up to you how fast you want to get there or how slow you want to get there. There is no reason that you have to lose all your weight in the next 30 days. There isn't. There's no advantage to it, really. There's a much bigger advantage to losing that weight and keeping it off for the rest of your life. So you can be like me. Like, I think it's been more than 15 years now, and I've maintained a healthy and fit body. I can go to a wedding tomorrow, put on a suit, and it sits well on me. I could show up on the beach tomorrow and take my shirt off and walk along the beach, and I don't have to worry about feeling embarrassed about my gut hanging out. These are just little vanity things, but it goes deeper than that. I can go for anything. I could go for a jog with my daughter if I wanted to tomorrow, and I'm physically in shape to do so. I can go up a flight of stairs and I don't have to worry about feeling like I'm going to have a heart attack. These were all realities in my life at one time. I can do anything on a physical level. I can do things that a young 18 and 20-year-old man can do. And it's because I chose to think about the long term, the implications of living certain ways in my life and what that's going to do to me on the long term. So when we start thinking about, the long game and thinking more of on a long-term basis when it comes to our exercise and training, for example, it allows us to make better choices. It allows us to think more about what truly reflects what we are like. What is congruent with who we are? What do we want in our lives for the rest of our lives? It allows us to make really good choices when it comes to whatever we want to do physically on an exercise level. So in thinking long term, you're going to want to ask yourself some questions about what you really enjoy doing when it comes to physical activity, because that's key. Because you want to bring this stuff into your life for a lifetime. And it doesn't have to be the same thing for the rest of your life. It can be cycled, different things. Like for me, example, I work out in the gym, but I change up my workouts so that they're not the same all the time, so it doesn't become mundane. I've even been entertaining the idea of taking yoga because I'm getting up there in age, and I know yoga is going to be a lot easier on my joints. So instead of taking time off from the gym, what I might do is shift from working out in the gym into some sort of a yoga program, and then shift back into the gym and do it in a cyclic way. Because I know as you get older, you need to let your joints heal, you need to let your tendons heal. Touch wood, I've been lucky, and that in the last 10 years, I haven't had any issues. But as you get up there, you got to be, I'm always thinking long game. I have this picture in my mind right now of me 10 years from now, 20 years from now even. And I'm not getting around with a walker, I am up in there. I'm 52 years old. So I've got maybe another 28 years until I'm 80. Okay, that's reality. And in those 28 years, I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I don't want to be using a walker. I don't want my wife to be tucking me into bed and taking care of me and feeding me. I don't want my family or my children looking after me like I'm their child. I want to make sure that I've done everything I possibly can within my power by thinking long term, so that they don't have to put up with all that, so that I can be in control of who I am, so that I can be the one who's supporting them. That's my job as a dad, as a husband, as a grandfather, whatever it might be. That's my job. So when we do start thinking long term, when you do start playing the long game, your mind is going to shift, your focus is going to shift away from all the attractive, shiny things that you can latch onto, to more realistic things that you can incorporate into your life, things that you can enjoy for a lifetime, that'll be there by your side, which is a good nutrition approach, something physical that you actually enjoy and that you embrace into your life. And you're going to find that it's gives you way more pleasure in life to live your life in that way, doing things that are congruent with who you are. It'll stop you from bouncing. This is the cool part. It'll stop you from bouncing from diet, to not being on a diet, to being on the next diet, to not eating properly, to going to the next diet, from not working out, to joining some sort of crazy thing that puts you through hell and all your joints are sore and you're injured, to not doing anything, sitting on a couch, to going back into some sort of other thing that you've latched onto for the short term, and putting yourself through all this trauma. Long-term thinking and playing the long game is where it's at, and that's one of the key things. An analogy would be if I gave you the opportunity right now to rent the perfect life you've always wanted. You can rent it from me. You pay me a certain amount, I'll give you the perfect body, I'll give you the perfect car, the perfect home, but you got to pay me each month, okay? You can rent it from me. And when I decide, then you can't rent it from me anymore. Or you can choose to own it yourself, to earn it and to own it for a lifetime. A lifetime. Instead of just taking those 2 months where you can rent and borrow it, okay, the 60 days like they advertise all the time, or the 30 days like they advertise, and have that kind of mindset, to develop this mindset that you want to own this for the rest of your life. A lifetime of being healthy and fit and vibrant, full of joy, being able to participate in life's events, being able to hang out with your family and not sit there and stand off in the sidelines because your joints are so sore and your lower back is killing you and you can't walk very well and you definitely can't run. It pays to own this life that you have. So in summary, my advice to you is to focus less on those short-term wins, those short-term little goals, and focus more on the long term. Stay away from those advertisements that say, oh, lose 20 pounds in 30 days, or lose 15 pounds in 3 weeks, or get that beach body in time for summer, or get wedding ready in 8 weeks. It's all marketing that is being fed to us. It's being fed to us all. And it does a really good job at tugging at our need for immediate gratification. And we are living in a world of immediate gratification. That's for sure. That's why everybody is glued to their phones. Families can be sitting all around a table together and they are fixed on these phones because they need immediate gratification. What did she say? What did he say? What was that video? What's the answer to that question? It all has to be immediate. And that's what we've all been programmed to be. The message is so exciting. It's so alluring. It's so gratifying to get those answers, those short-term, quick answers that we want in life, that we often lose sight of the real true answer, which is thinking long-term, thinking little bits at a time instead of all at once. That's where the true answer is. That's where that peace comes from. That amazing feeling you get one day. And I can tell you from experience, it's what happens. When one day arrives and you just know that you no longer have to worry. You no longer have to be on that roller coaster of gaining weight and losing weight and gaining weight and losing weight and feeling hopeless and then feeling a little glimmer of hope and then having all that taken away. All that stops when you start thinking long term. And then you start putting the actions in place into your life that sets you up for the long term. Because long-term thinking is definitely where it's at. And if you're looking for a long-term solution to your diet, then I have something for you, like I shared earlier, that's absolutely free and will set you up for a lifetime if you follow it correctly. Just like I shared earlier, 15 years strong now, and my Automate Your Plate eating approach has never steered me wrong. I created it more than 15 years ago. Yes, I used it to lose 65 pounds in 13 weeks, but the most important part is that I've kept that weight off all these years. And that's why I'm so passionate about it and that I'm giving it away to everyone for free rather than try to sell it to people online. Because I know the power and the benefit that it has. I know how it's affected me in life and I've seen it affect others. And I just want to get it into as many hands as I possibly can. Because my ultimate goal with this channel and with everything that I do is I want to give people an advantage in life. I want to help people to not only lose some weight, lose it quickly, but to keep it off for a lifetime so they can live a life that's much more fuller than it is right now. So go ahead, take full advantage and download my Automate Your Plate checklist. It takes all the things that I teach on this eating approach and it simplifies it all down into a single page cheat sheet that you can download today for free and start benefiting from it right away. You can get yourself a copy by going to ethanlerock.com/automate. And if you're watching on YouTube, there is a link down below. You can click on it and you can get it there. It's as simple as download it, print it, follow each step, and it doesn't even cost you a penny. So before we go, please leave me some comments. Have you ever found yourself kind of caught up in this whole mindset of immediate gratification? Do you get lured in by these advertisements that show up in your feed that promise you amazing results overnight? Has today's show maybe given you a little bit of a different perspective of the importance of long-term thinking and playing the long game? I sure hope it has. And if it has sparked some ideas and maybe shifted your perspective just a little bit, then please drop me a comment because I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. And I love hearing from you. I am thankful, personally, that I took this seriously myself and that I instilled long-term thinking into my life and decided to play the long game. I decided not to play the short game anymore. And all these years now, more than 15 years, I've maintained a very healthy, vibrant, and joyous life. And I'm able to share that with you. I'm able to share this each week, these little things that I've learned, so that hopefully I can make your life a little bit better in the process. Have an awesome day and remainder of the week. And until we meet again, stay healthy, be happy, and live your life with intention every single day.